Servants get all the glory. Excalibur, Gate of Babylon, Unlimited Blade Works. Everyone talks about the weapons, but behind every servant is a master. And the gap between the best and worst masters in the Fifth Holy Grail War is absolutely embarrassing. We're talking about a gap between a man who can go toe-to-toe with a servant using his bare hands and a kid who literally has no working magic circuits. Today we're ranking every master from Fate's Day Night, Unlimited Blade Works, and Heaven's Feel across 7 levels. We're judging them at their peak, where they are by the end of the route, not where they started. And we are strictly staying in those 3 routes. Level 1, Deadweight. Shinji is the floor, the absolute floor. The Matu family's magical lineage dried up generations ago, and Shinji was born on the wrong side of that. His magic circuits are vestigial, present in the same way a vestigial organ is present. They technically exist, they do nothing. He has no magic craft. He can't reinforce his body. He can't cast a single offensive spell. He participates in the Holy Grail War entirely as a passenger who happens to be sitting in the front seat because of his family name, not because of anything he earned. In UBW, Kirahi literally hands him Gilgamesh as a replacement servant after Ryder dies, which is the single least deserved power upgrade in the entire franchise. A man who can't produce mana is now the master of the King of Heroes. The only reason that lasts even 5 minutes is because Gilgamesh finds the arrangement amusing. In Heaven's Feel, Shinji's role is even bleaker. He exists as a tool for Zoken, someone to be pushed around and eventually discarded. Every route ends with Shinji either getting completely humiliated, used as a vessel, or running away screaming from a minor cut. His ceiling as a master is negative. He requires resources. His servants' mana reserves are perpetually strained because of his inability to supply them properly. He makes the team worse by existing on it. Level 2, technically a master. Kuzuki is a fascinating level 2 case because he's not weak by any normal human standard. He's anything but. Raised from birth by an assassination organization and trained in a personal martial art called Snake, a style built around unpredictable arm movements that land strikes from angles human instinct doesn't know how to process. He's physically exceptional. In Blade Works, he simultaneously drops both Shiro and Rin in the span of seconds when they go to the church to fight Castor. He can also generate mana through his breathing alone, which technically substitutes for magic circuits. By Fate standards, that's genuinely remarkable for someone who isn't a mage. But Kuzuki came into the Holy Grail War by accident. He had no knowledge of it, no strategy for it, and no magical foundation to build on. His entire toolkit is physical, and while Snake is devastating on a first encounter, its strength is specifically that it doesn't look like what it is. The moment an opponent has seen it once and adjusted, the ceiling collapses. Archer and Blade Works adapts and handles him. With Castor's reinforcement on his fists, he's briefly a genuine problem for servants in close range. Without it, he's a supremely skilled normal person in a war fought by demigods and divine spirits. The gap is just too big. He's level 2 because his personal ability is real and completely insufficient for what the war actually requires. Level 3, Real Participant. Level 3 is where we hit masters who can actually contribute to the war beyond just existing. They have meaningful abilities, real magecraft, and in some scenarios can affect the outcome of a fight on their own, even if their ceiling is clearly limited compared to the top of the list. Let's be very clear about the version of Sakura we're talking about here. Sakura before the shadow fully takes over. The Sakura who is a participant in the Fifth Holy Grail War as Ryder's master in Heaven's Feel before Zoken's plan runs its course. Sakura's magical foundation is enormous, deeper than anyone gives her credit for, because the Mato worm system she's been subjected to since childhood has done 2 things simultaneously. It's destroyed her psychologically, and it has also massively expanded her mana capacity. She was Rin Tosaka's biological sister, born from the Tosaka bloodline, with circuits that were strong from birth. Then 11 years of Mato conditioning stacked on top of that. Her mana output as Ryder's master dwarfs what Shinji was ever able to supply. Ryder is noticeably more functional, more capable, and more dangerous the moment Sakura is in the master's seat rather than Shinji. The difference is immediate. As a standalone mage though, Sakura hasn't been developed. Her magecraft knowledge is limited because the Mato method involves absorption and experience through the worm system rather than studied technique. She can't fight the way Rin fights. She can't construct strategies the way Kirei does. Her power is raw and largely passive at this stage. A genuinely dangerous mage constrained by what she was allowed to become.
Ilya von Einsburn is the most technically dangerous level 3 master in the war, and the main reason she's not higher is the specific role she's designed to fill, rather than any personal weakness. She's a homunculus. Her body was engineered by the Einsburn family across generations, specifically built to function as the Lesser Holy Grail, a vessel for the Grail's magical energy. That engineering means her magical circuits aren't just numerous, They're distributed through her entire body. She has 10 times the magical circuits of a standard top-tier mage. Her mana output is staggering. She can hypnotize. She can perceive things normal mages can't sense. She's been trained in magecraft from birth in an environment where magical excellence is the entire point. In Stay Night, she holds Berserker, the most mana-hungry servant in the war, in contract without visible strain, which tells you everything about her supply capacity. Her personal combat ability, though, in these 3 routes is limited. She's designed as a vessel and a commander, not a frontline fighter. And in Heaven's Feel, once her role as the Grail vessel becomes central to the plot, her agency collapses. She becomes a resource being fought over rather than a participant fighting back. The magical foundation is genuinely elite. The personal fighting application isn't there.
Level 4. Dangerous alone. Level 4 is the threshold. These are masters who are legitimately dangerous, independent of their servant. People where even if you somehow neutralize their servant, the fight isn't over. Shiro at the start of any route is barely a mage. His magic circuits are warped. His body is threaded with Archer's projected weapons from a near-fatal accident in childhood, which means his structural base is fundamentally wrong for conventional magecraft. His reinforcement is unreliable. His elemental output is basically 0, but his origin and his elemental alignment are both sword. And that singular, complete alignment with one concept means that in the domain of weapons, tracing, projecting, analyzing, and reproducing blades, he does something that should be impossible. He doesn't just copy weapons, he understands them. By the end of Bladeworks, he's projecting Khalidbog 2 through Archer's own techniques, firing them as broken phantasms with explosive force, and holding a sustained engagement against Gilgamesh. Not because his copies are equal, but because his understanding of them is approaching equal. That is a completely different kind of ceiling than what he started with. By the end of Heaven's Feel, he's running on Archer's transplanted arm, a dying body held together by his own tracing of Avalon, and projecting 9 lives Bladeworks against Berserker. The structural damage that projection does to his body is catastrophic. He does it anyway, multiple times. The ceiling he reaches by the end of each route is elite. The path to get there is brutal and specific. He's level 4 because by the end point of his routes, Shiro Emiya is a legitimate threat even in direct combat, but only within the narrow lane of what his magic actually does. Level 5. Elite Masters. Level 5 is where masters stop being support roles and become primary threats on their own. These are people where you don't ignore them even after their servant is gone, where their personal capabilities make them problems that have to be solved separately. Our case study here is Rin Tosaka. Rin is the most complete mage in the 5th Holy Grail War by a significant margin, and it's not really close. She was born with the ability to manipulate all 5 great elements. Not 1, not 2, all 5. In the context of how rare that is in the Fate universe, that alone marks her as generationally exceptional. The Tosaka family's specialty is the transfer and storage of power. Specifically, she stockpiles enormous amounts of prana into gemstones and deploys them as single-use magical bullets of devastating force. Her Gondar, a Finnish curse that she's refined into a blunt physical force shot, works as a rapid-fire tool in close exchanges. Her reinforcement is precise. Her tactical read in combat is consistently better than anyone else in the war. In UBW, she handles herself against casters' direct spellcraft. She uses Jewel Sword Zelrich in the final sequence against the cave structure. And throughout the route, she's the one carrying the strategic plan while Shiryu handles the emotional heavy lifting. Her biggest limit is quantity. The gems take time and significant resource investment to charge. Burn through them in one engagement, and her peak output drops substantially. She's rationing a finite supply of her best tool. That caveat noted, Rin at full resource is one of the most dangerous humans in the Holy Grail War. She earns level 5 on her own merits, completely independent of what Archer is doing beside her. Level 6. War-Shaping Masters. Level 6 is a different category entirely. These are masters who actively shape the course of the entire war through their personal capabilities. People whose presence fundamentally changes what's possible. That would be Kirei Kotomine. The thing about Kirei is that most people engaging with Stay Night understand he's dangerous. What they sometimes don't fully grasp is what that actually means on paper. He's an executor of the church, a title that exists specifically to designate elite human weapons. Executors are trained as killers of supernatural threats, first class. Among them, Kirei specifically has mastered a martial art called Super Baji Quan, a personal synthesis of Chinese Baji Quan and magecraft that runs explosive, mana-enhanced strikes through every physical movement. He carries black keys, long throwing daggers that he deploys in groups of 4 per hand as either precision projectiles or close-range weapons in quantities that make his cassock essentially an armory. His physical capabilities are absurd by human standards. In Heaven's Feel, he carries Ilya while falling 20 meters without injury, sprints through forest terrain at speeds clocking around 30 miles per hour without fatigue, and can leap up to 20 meters vertically. None of this involves reinforcement magic. That's his base. After his revival by Angr Mainyu following the Fourth Holy Grail War, he can also directly control and weaponize the corrupted mud of the Holy Grail, meaning his toolkit in Heaven's Feel extends into genuinely supernatural territory. His magic specialty is healing, specifically surgical healing that most mages don't develop. He extracts command spells. He purges warm familiars. He transplants Archer's arm onto Shiro. These aren't flashy combat applications, but they are expressions of a level of precision magical skill that rivals dedicated specialists. In UBW's final sequence, a dying Kuchulin kills him by running himself through to get a clear strike. One of the most powerful Lantern servants in the franchise sacrifices himself to take Kirei down. That's the correct measure of what fighting Kirei requires. He controls 2 servants across the routes, Gilgamesh and Lancer, manages the war as its ostensible overseer while pursuing his own agenda, and remains standing longer than almost anyone else in the conflict.
Level 7. Beyond Masters. Level 7 is reserved for one person. And the reason she sits here alone isn't just about power. It's about what she fundamentally is. Sakura, at her peak in Heaven's Feel, isn't a master anymore in any conventional sense. She's the Black Grail. She's become the Shadow, a vessel through which Angr Mainyu, all the world's evil, reaches toward manifestation in the world. Calling her a master at this point is like calling Excalibur a stick. What the Shadow can do? It absorbs magical energy from everything it contacts. Servants, mages, structures, people. It pulls them in and consumes them. Servants who enter the Shadow are disassembled, their prana stripped, and fed into Sakura's reserves. By the final act of Heaven's Feel, Sakura is running on the combined magical energy of multiple consumed servants. Her boundary field spreads across Fuyuki and begins warping the city. She deploys Saber Alter, a version of Artoria converted and corrupted by the Shadow into a weapon under Sakura's control, as a personal enforcer. She is simultaneously a mage, a mobile bounded field, a servant consuming entity, and the physical container for a conceptual evil that predates the Holy Grail War itself. And underneath all of it, Sakura is still in there, still aware, still in pain. The horror of Heaven's Feel isn't just that she becomes this powerful, it's that she becomes this and she knows it. From a pure capability standpoint, nothing in these 3 routes comes close. No master, no servant, no combination of both is engaging her at full power and walking away clean. The only reason she's stoppable at all is because of the emotional through line, because Shiro refuses to let go of the person underneath the Shadow. Level 7, because she's not competing with the other masters anymore. She's become the war's final boss.
If you want me to do one on Fate Zero or other Fate series, make sure to like the video.